Hi Wolfpack fans, Marcy Bullock with Sparketype. So this video is all about making a career decision. We have another video on Focus 2, which is a fantastic tool to help you make a career decision. Today we're going to talk about a free resource you can find online called Sparketype. If you go to sparketype.com, you can do it right on your phone, just type it in, and it takes about 15 minutes to complete. I really think the information that you will gain from this is useful. So I'd like you to pause the video now and complete your Sparketype. And when you come back, you should know your primary and shadow Sparketype. So we're going to continue now, assuming that you know your primary and shadow Sparketype. So the reason why I had you spend 15 minutes of your valuable time completing this assessment is because when I heard about it on a podcast, I literally said, this is what I have been spending the last 30 years of my career investigating, is how can students, no matter where they are on the planet, I've worked in Australia, California, North Carolina, how can they make a decision about what to do with their life that will be meaningful and fulfilling and satisfying? And if I talk to anyone and they ask me what I do for a living and I say I'm a career counselor, they say, help me figure out what I should be when I grow up. It is a lifelong process. You do not finish figuring it out in your 20s. I call your 20s your trying 20s because you're trying lots of things and it feels trying. I believe that there is a golden thread following you throughout your life. From the earliest time that you can remember thinking, I want to be a blank when I grow up, I think I wanted to be Olivia Newton-John on Grease in the theater. Now, you'll not be surprised, even though I'm not on Broadway, my primary type is performer, and I use it in a totally different way than being on stage. That is a golden thread that has followed me throughout my life. I also call it a nudge. By a nudge, I mean something that is kind of pushing you forward. So when I was younger, out in the cul-de-sac playing with all the kids, and a new kid moved in, they didn't know the rules of the game. And I mean like age 10, we're all screaming at them, this is how you play this game, and they look like a deer in headlights, I'm new, I don't know it. And someone would say, shut up and let Marcy explain it. That was a nudge that when I was 10 years old, I liked explaining things and I was good at it. Fast forward to when I was in college, the same time that you are watching this, I was captain of the soccer team at UC San Diego. That meant that I loved helping people to push them and reach their potential. I loved winning. I loved setting goals. I was very competitive. I did not know that meant I would be a director of professional development in a university decades later. But I did know that those were core pieces of who I was that I needed to incorporate into my life. And that's exactly what I do now, even though it's not on the field, is I help students to reach their potential. I develop model programs where I compete all over the country to be chosen to be a presenter at a national conference. I've incorporated all those pieces into my purpose. And because I spend so much time at work, it makes me feel very fulfilled at the end of a day to know I gave my all. So a golden thread throughout your life, it's something that you need to express in your life. And there are so many ways you can express it, literally billions of ways I could be a performer. It doesn't limit me to a box of jobs. 1 in 400 trillion. All right, so if you haven't heard me say this yet in another video or in person, I'm going to remind you that there was a 1 in 400 trillion chance that you would be here at this moment watching this video with this DNA. So you really are meant to do something very important. What is it? What is that footprint going to be? It could be this creative person that's using clay in the urn. It could be the person who is the advocate who is helping the refugees because they are a population that's marginalized. It could be someone who's going to be telling stories. This is your why. It's your why. It's so important to know what is driving you. It builds on your values. That's basically what's important to you. And it is honestly part of your DNA. It's the source code. When I say, why do I get out of bed? It's because I need to share what I've learned with other people. And I actually found a job that pays me to do that. The Japanese came up with this amazing term for your reason to be alive, your reason for being. And I want you to read this paragraph because honestly, in Western culture, we don't have a way to explain this, referring to the source of one's life and the things that make life worthwhile. I want to be doing a career where most of my waking hours are spent doing something that's worthwhile. I don't want to just be getting a paycheck just to live to work. I want to work to live and enjoy myself. So look up Ikigai if you like this. I think it's an amazing term. When we get our Sparketype, it is an example of when we feel fully absorbed in something. We just are 100% in it. We're in the flow. We feel like it's our essential nature that we are expressing. And it also lights us up. And again, there have been many signposts throughout your childhood. If you think about what you got in trouble for, if you talk too much, well, that probably says something about you. You might be a sage on your Sparketype because you're going to use that in your future. If you colored outside the lines, you might be someone who is a very creative person, who's a maker. You have this central nature. And honestly, if you were the go-to person for listening to your friends, well, you might be, the advisor. There's all these things that help us to understand our Sparketype. So we have all of these Sparketypes listed here. And I referred to a few of them. And when you go back into your test results, you can see a more in-depth paragraph that describes each of these 10. Your primary type can typically be expressed in many ways. If you're a warrior and you want to lead people, you might be a CEO, you might be a leader of a team in a totally different industry outside of business because maybe your shadow type with warrior was advocate, so you need to champion other people. You can see how when you combine these two, it can help you to make great career choices. And I always use the example of my family members because my one daughter is the warrior, my one daughter is the advocate, my husband is the scientist, I'm the performer, one son-in-law is the essentialist, and the other soon-to-be son-in-law is the maven. And I guessed all of them because this not only is part of what they do in their careers, but it is part of what they do in their human side of just being alive on the planet and having relationships with other people. All right, so now we're looking at the 10 Sparketypes. And in our work over the years, we've come to see each person, regardless of geography or culture, tends to have a very specific imprint on work that is the truest expression of their reason for being. So once you know your reason for being, you can say, how do I express that in my career pursuit? And this ties in your purpose. Then you express it, and it's when you're in the flow, you know when time flies by. So Sparketype lets you start saying yes to only what aligns with the deepest parts of who you are and no to everything else. Now, maybe not everything else. We might have to do some things in our job we don't love, but it does reveal to all of us this simple fact that getting what we need from the way we work is less about doing or going somewhere else and more about creating what we need regardless of where we are. Think about it. You've had more control than you've ever realized. You just haven't known how or where to begin. The more you understand your unique Sparketype and how to build around it, feeling lit, we all want that, this becomes more of a persistent state, not a fleeting glimpse. Your Sparketypes helps you more clearly answer the question, what should I do with my life? It's an ignition switch, the thing that gives you the power to light the fires of purpose, and then to learn fully to express that purpose in a way that only you can. That's when you will enter the magical place of flow. So I would encourage you to complete Sparketype, have a conversation with someone in your life that maybe can also take it and help you to interpret it. Perhaps your career coach, someone like me. I would be more than happy to help you understand how you can use your Sparketype to find the career of your dreams.